Hello, and welcome to this episode of Scouting for Growth. Our guest today is Nicky Billou, an international best-selling author, renowned thought leader, and host of the top-ranked Thought Leaders Revolution podcast. Over the past decade, Nicky has established himself as a leading authority on personal branding and business growth strategies. He's the founder of E-Circle Academy, a year-long mastermind and educational program that works with entrepreneurs from various industries to position themselves as authorities in their niches. Nicky is also the creator of the Thought Leader, Heart Leader designation, highlighting the importance of authentic leadership. As you know, a very important topic for me, because today, with remote working, digitalization, authenticity, and really understanding your authentic identity is critical for driving business growth. Having interviewed over 500 of the world's top thought leaders on his podcast, including astronaut Chris Hadfield, Shark Tank's Baba Corcoran, and leadership expert John Maxwell, Nicky's insights have helped numerous entrepreneurs add 7 to 9 figures to their businesses and build powerful personal brands. With a passion for helping startup founders and CEOs become thought leaders in their industries, Nicky believes that by developing a strong personal brand, entrepreneurs can attract more investors, customers, and top talent to their ventures. In today's episode, Nicky will share his expertise on why it is crucial for startup CEOs to brand themselves as thought leaders and provide actionable strategies to help them stand out in competitive markets, accelerate business growth, and create lasting impact. So please join me in welcoming Nicky Billou to Scouting for Growth. Hi, Nicky. Thank you so much for joining me on Scouting for Growth.
It's a pleasure to be here, Sabine. What an honor.
Well, Nicky, let's go straight into our conversation. I want to know a bit more about you, and I would love our listener to get to know you better. So, who is Nicky? What do you do? How you change the world of entrepreneurs and maybe corporates as well?
What a great question. So let me tell you my backstory. I'm originally an immigrant from the Middle East to North America. I'm actually a Christian from Iran. When I was 11 years old, the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran. And at the time, my late father, God rest his soul, he could see the writing on the wall. He and my mom could see, hey, this was not going to be a place to raise a Christian family. So they made a plan. And eventually they got us out of Iran. We went to Greece for a couple of years. And then we settled in Canada, in Toronto, where I now live. Now, when I was 11 years old, I did not want to leave my home or my friends, right? It didn't make sense to me. But looking back, it was the single greatest thing mom and dad could have done for me and my 2 brothers. They took us from a legacy of tyranny to a legacy of freedom. And if you think about this, this is a very profound and important thing for an entrepreneur to understand, right? Entrepreneurship is only possible where you have free enterprise. Free enterprise is only possible where you have free expression. Free expression is only possible where you have freedom. The bedrock foundation for the success of any entrepreneur is an environment that allows for freedom. So I became a really big champion for freedom. And I recommend every entrepreneur goes and learns about it. It takes an immigrant to show people the value of freedom, because there's a lot of people right now that have been born in Canada and the US and other Western countries who don't appreciate how precious freedom is, how wonderful it is, and how it doesn't exist everywhere. And so I say this first and foremost to every entrepreneur: understand the philosophy of freedom. You should go read books and learn about thinkers. People like Ayn Rand. She wrote some books called The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. People like Milton Friedman, who wrote Capitalism and Freedom. People like Friedrich Hayek, who wrote The Road to Serfdom. All of these are books that will give you, as an entrepreneur, an understanding of life. What is philosophy? Philosophy is a way to live life. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, you better understand what allows for you to be successful and what conditions can take away from your success. And you better be one of those champions for freedom in your own country, because without freedom, we can't have business. So that's the first and foremost piece of who is Nicky, what's he all about, is Nicky is a champion for freedom. Secondly, my dad was also an entrepreneur. He believed in freedom, but he believed in people. He was a humanist. He was a people person. And he would tell me when I was growing up, when I was a kid, he'd say, son, remember, life is about people. And he said, even the business, it's not about money. No, no, no. It's about people. And I'm going, Dad, I'm 8 years old, right? I'm going, Dad, come on. What are you talking about? Of course, business is about money. What are you talking about? And he said, without money, I would try to tell him, I said, Dad, you can't have any business. He goes, yes, son, that's true. But without people, there's no need for money. There's no business. You see, all business is, the purpose of business. Imagine you draw a diagram with the 3 circles, the Venn diagram. The first circle says problems. The second circle says people. The third circle says profit. And where all 3 intersect, it says purpose, the purpose of business. So the purpose of business is to solve problems for people for a profit. You solve acute problems, big problems, for amazing people for an awesome profit. That is the awe-inspiring purpose of business. I learned this from my father. And my father would always say to me, son, remember that lady in front of you. She's someone's daughter. She's someone's sister. She's someone's wife, right?
Yes.
She is a mother, maybe even. She's a hero to someone. Maybe she dealt with someone just like you in business who, was a charlatan, didn't take care of her, took her money and did nothing for her. It's your job to make her see that good people exist. He said everything in life, you have to believe in people. People need someone to believe in them. Everyone needs someone to love them, pour into them, and believe in them. And my father said to me, that's your job. You are a professional believer in life. You believe in people, you pour into people, you give them your heart and soul. And if you ask me, Nicky, well, what is it that you do? What is it that you know? Why are you an expert? Blah, blah, blah. And look, I've got a lot of that, okay? I've written 10 books, including 2 New York Times bestsellers. I host 2 podcasts, top 10 in iTunes, one of them in marketing and business. You know what I mean? I am somebody who's been a guest on over 600 podcasts.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I teach thought leadership, to people. I teach people how to go on podcasts as a guest and generate business and leads out of this. I've got incredible tools, skills, programs for people. But if you say, Nicky, what do you do? What's the best thing? What's your superpower? My superpower is I'm a professional believer. I believe in people. I pour into people. I love on people. So when people don't believe in themselves, when their belief wobbles, when there's a little bit of a spark that's missing in their life of belief, I bring the spark, and then I help that spark grow into a roaring fire of belief so that they can move forward in life and create the life that they deserve and they desire from the deepest part of their soul.
Superb. Wonderful. Well, I want to dive into this thought leadership for startup CEOs comment you just made. So why is it critical, right, for founders to actually value freedom? As you said, we are living, I live in United Kingdom, you're United States, we live in democracies where I guess freedom of speech is allowed. So therefore we can have point of views. We can have contrarian point of views. You and I can agree to disagree and still build friends. So why is it crucial for startup CEOs and founders to develop a strong personal brand and positioning, actually, Nicky, through thought leadership? Because I believe in that. This is what I do as well every single day.
Well, that's a great question. So I say this to you, right? We are living in an era where for you to really make an impact, to really have your brand, your organization to be known. You cannot do things the way they always have been done, where you have slick marketing campaigns and you try to get people's emotions hooked and to push them here and there. It does not work. People are smart now. Their internet is there. They can see when you're being disingenuous. Okay. And what works today, what people crave, all people everywhere, is authenticity.
Thank you.
is is being real, is being honest, is coming from the heart. And if you are a founder, a CEO, you need to understand that. And if you are looking to have the public understand who you are, what your company does, that needs to be first and foremost in your mind.
Yes.
You think about this, okay? I'll give you an example. There's a couple of car companies. I'm gonna just give you the names of these companies, and then I want you to tell me if you know who the CEO of each is. One of them is BMW, and the
Yes.
other one is Tesla. Do you
Yeah.
know the CEO of BMW? Do you know their name?
It's a superb question. It's a superb question, Nikki, because I do not know who is a BMW CEO, but I only drive BMWs, interestingly enough, because my dad, when I was a kid, only bought BMWs. So still today, my husband and I only drive BMWs. And we don't see the point actually to know who is the CEO of BMW. But yes, I do know the CEO of Tesla because we hear about him every day. And yesterday, you won't believe, I got an email from one of his team members from X who actually wants to have a little bit of a chat with me. And I thought, I must have a little bit of a good impact on X to actually being asked for a little bit of a chat. So I do know that second CEO, very much so indeed.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that, right? Because that second CEO is Elon Musk, and Elon Musk is somebody who has taken the time to create for himself a persona, a brand in the world. Everyone knows Elon Musk. Why? Because Elon Musk stands for something more than just, I want to sell more cars. The CEO of BMW, hey, I want to sell more cars. Let's sell cars. Come on, come on, come on. Elon Musk started Tesla. Well, he didn't start Tesla, but he got into Tesla because he wanted to change the world. He had a vision that one day we would be able to stop using fossil fuels and we'd be able to use electricity and electric cars. Now, you can agree with that vision or not, okay? That doesn't matter. And I'll tell you for myself, I'm very skeptical of electric cars. There is definitely a lot of studies that show that in some respects, the mining for the minerals that's required to build the batteries can be more
Batteries is a
dangerous for
big
the
problem.
environment, yeah, than fossil fuels. So it's cleaner to burn fossil fuels right now than to have electric cars at the moment. Could change, but at the moment it hasn't. That's my personal belief. But regardless of my personal belief, your personal belief, everyone knows who Tesla is. I bought shares in Tesla. I believe in Elon, and I am going to hold those shares as long as Elon is the CEO of Tesla. Simple as that, because of Elon.
Yes.
And if you are the CEO of a company, do you want to be the unnamed, unknown CEO of BMW, or do you want to be the Elon Musk of your industry? If you're the Elon Musk of your industry, more people are going to know about your company. More people are going to want to buy your products and services. More people are going to want to work for you because Tesla has 10,000 people wanting to work there for every job there. That's the crazy thing about Tesla. And thirdly, more investors are going to put money into you. Tesla is top 3 most valuable companies in the world. Why? Because of Elon, because of his brand. That's the case. And if you are in business and you're a founder and you want to sell more, you want to have the best employees want to work for you, and you want to have access to investment funds and grow and scale, thought leadership is the accelerator that will get you there faster than anything else.
I think the comment you are making around Elon Musk, and I do admire Elon Musk as well. even though I disagree with some of the things he has done. He has Tesla, we have SpaceX, we have the link, I can't remember the thinking link, right? And we have Twitter X,
Neuralink. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The
yeah.
Neuralink. And so he's renowned for more than one enterprise and one thought. And we know that when we think about Elon Musk, we think about a contrarian. We think about a contrarian mindset. Now let's think about Bill Gates, right? Microsoft. Now he built the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which actually has done a lot in Africa, to give money to young entrepreneurs when many other enterprise may not have given them money, and gradually has changed his persona from Microsoft to other side of Bill. And he's an amazing thought leader. If we look at what he's doing on LinkedIn, he always teases us with sustainability, but also a lot with the change with artificial intelligence and so on and so forth. The two women I admire, for example, Nikki, are Oprah Winfrey. She's a teacher. She teaches us. And, in my industry, sometimes people call me the Oprah of insurance. Or Sarah Blakely, who has been an inspiration as well for women and demonstrating that you can actually build $1 billion company. So when you think about those amazing names I just mentioned, and I'm sure that when you teach and coach your entrepreneurs to build a brand, what are the main strategies a startup CEO needs to consider to actually be successful today within their niche, within their industry, within their thoughts or ideas they are pushing into the market?
Well, that's a great question. And I'll tell you this. The first thing they've got to do is they've got to actually have an independent voice for themselves that they've identified. That's not just their business voice, what they think the business world needs to hear. So there's a whole process we take them through to go into their life. And there's a series of exercises we have them do to get that voice clear, defined, authentic, and real out there. Now, once that is done, and that is not it takes 2 hours scenario. That takes time, and it takes some diligent work to make it happen. But it can be done, and artificial intelligence can speed up the process, because those thoughts that you bring out of your head, then artificial intelligence can put some more meat to them and make it easier for you to move forward with them. But once they've done that, they need to find a way to begin to amplify what they do. So from my point of view, there's a 4-part strategy to it. Part number 1 is, I think that they are going to need to start to go and learn how to be a guest on a podcast. So one of the things we teach is about podcast guesting. So I've been a guest on 600 shows. And when I go on a show, well, I don't go on a show and say, I'm just going to say whatever. I'm not going to be prepared. No, being a guest on a podcast is like doing a TED Talk. You got 18 minutes. You can't waste one word. And you need to know what you're going to say, and you need to know what you're not going to say. So we're going to show them how to do podcast guesting. It's very powerful, very effective for them to do. In addition to podcast guesting, they're going to need to start to have a team assist them in putting out their own content in the form of videos, in the form of written quotes, in the form of longer form posts. So that needs to start to get out there in a big and powerful way. And the next part of the strategy is having their own podcast. Many CEOs are starting to have their own podcast. So having a podcast, but not just, hey, the name of the company. If the podcast is the name of your company, that's a stupid idea. But if a podcast is about you. So one of the best examples of having a podcast by a famous person is actually not in business, it's in politics. There's a fellow named Ted Cruz. He's a senator from Texas, right? He has a show called The Verdict. Now, Ted Cruz used to be, before he got into politics, a brilliant trial lawyer. He had argued before the United States Supreme Courts many times. He had won. The verdict. Like, what he's saying is, this is the verdict. You come on the show to give the verdict. Really brilliant on his part. And people listen to his show, not just political people, but regular people listen to the show, and regular people want to come on his show, not just political people, because he talks about a variety of really interesting topics. Now, because of this guy's profile has risen, right? Like, not only political people or people from his state of Texas know him, he's now starting to be known outside of this. Now, what does he want to do? Well, one of the things I think he wants to do at some days, he wants to be president of the United States. What a great way to become president of the United States, but
Really?
to
He wants
raise
to
your
become
profile,
president.
right?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. He wants to be president for sure. It's not going to happen this time, but he wants to be president, and this is one of the things that he's doing is he's raising his profile and bringing it up there. The other thing that this has done for him is he is now attracting donors to his political campaigns that are from outside of his state of Texas. He has lots of people that are following him that aren't even necessarily very political,
Yeah.
but because they've listened to his show and he's funny and he's charming and he comes up with a good theme, they're like, okay, I kind of like this Ted guy. Let me send him some money for his re-election campaign. So his re-election campaign was X in terms of funds. Now it's like 4X, 5X. This is fantastic.
It's
From
incredible.
his point of view. It's absolutely magnificent. So if as a business owner, instead of putting your company name on the podcast, you came up with a clever thing like he did, the verdict. Let's say in the past you were a triathlete, you might go Iron Man musings or Iron Woman musings, whatever, right? You start to put that in there and they go, oh my God, the CEO of that AI startup, they got this podcast on Iron Man. That's pretty cool. Let's have a listen. That'll start to be really, really good. And then finally, this is very important, and it is the most complicated, but again, we know how to help people do this and do it well and right, is a book. You want a book as a startup founder, as a CEO.
Gosh, you have written already so many books, Nicky. How do you find the time?
Well, it's one of my skills. I'm able to do it quickly, and I do it in a very concentrated period of time, and I've got a team that helps. But I say to a CEO of a firm, if you're willing to do this and you're not a writer and you don't want to go, oh my God, I can't write, blah, blah, blah. And I don't want to sound like AI because then Amazon will ban my book because they don't like AI written books. And that's true. They don't, and they will ban your book.
It should not be, right? You need to write what you can't.
What I will say to you is you need to hire somebody. And myself, about 3 times a year, I work with a co-author, who's basically a CEO. They pay me a fee and I write the book. It's not my main business. Doesn't make me a lot of money. Depending on the book, I charge between $30,000 and $60,000 per book. So it's not, that's like a $30,000 is like a slow month for me. $60,000 is like an average month for me. So that's twice a year. But I love to write. With the right person, I'm happy to write. And if it can't be me, I can guide you to someone who can help you get that done for you. And that'll be a beautiful thing. If you do all 4 of these things, once you've decided and have landed on the authentic you don't just go, okay, I'm going to start without having done all that work. You don't want to put your brand out there as some fake, excuse my language, bullshit that people are going to see through really quickly. But once you've done all that work and you do all these things and you keep it up, you're a thought leader, and people are going to be very excited to speak with you and to hear from you. And it'll be easier for you to get clients, to get employees, and to get investors.
It is so true. You won't believe, Nicky. It's just it's incredible because last week we had what we call Insurance Technology Week in London. And so it's a week where we have conference. It's a week where we actually network the whole week around. And I decided I always do something around InsurTech Week. And I delivered with a couple of my colleagues an authentic identity mastermind for people in insurance within my industry. That included corporate executives as well as tech founders of startups. They didn't know what the iceberg would look like, right? They say, oh yes, I know what authenticity is. I know what authenticity is and identity is. They thought that they did, right? Personal branding and personal strategy. But then as we spend 4 hours masterminding and workshopping, this iceberg part, which is underneath the water, starting emerging. And so the feedback has been incredible. But what that did is you and I are different. Whilst we are doing a little bit of similar things, we are actually very different, and our authenticity is going to be unique to us. And really understanding why we exist and why we are in this world is critical. And so that takes me, Nicky, to, can you share a few examples? How do you help some of those amazing CEOs, with thought leadership, with content, with all the different advice you just gave them, the podcast, writing the book, being on somebody else's podcast, being true to themselves, being clear around their authenticity. How do you help them to actually achieve 7 to 9 figures businesses, right? By realigning their brand with the right thought leadership and the right message out there.
Well, look, I'll give you a couple of examples because the truth of the matter is that a lot of people, they don't understand that this is simple but not easy. Yeah, simple but not easy. So I had a client who was an executive coach. He used to be an executive vice president at a big manufacturing company.
Mm-hmm.
And he was older at the time. He was 57, and he didn't want to work so hard anymore. You know what I mean? He was a stage in life where he wanted to relax. That's why he became a coach. He really loved helping people, but he didn't want to work 80 hours a week anymore.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. As soon as he started to become an executive coach, his income fell off a cliff. He lost 80% of his income.
Mm.
Like he made $350,000 a year, and then he went down to like 70. And he's like, okay, I don't want to work so hard, but I don't want to lose my income. Can you help me get it back up? And I said, sure. So we sat and we talked with him, and this took time. So I want you to understand, he came, he did a workshop with us. We did some work with him one-on-one. He joined an ongoing mastermind that we have on this. But it took us about 6 months, and we finally found out that his true passion and expertise was growth. He loved growing, he loved scaling. So we helped him focus on that instead of everything business, right? I'm a business coach, you can help you with everything. No, I'm the growth guy.
Yeah.
I'm the growth guy. So then once we did that, very simple, very straightforward, he needed to get clear on an ideal avatar, an ideal client. That took a little while longer, but it was attorneys, law firms with one owner, not partners, one owner. And these were people who were doing well, but stuck, wanted to double, triple, wanted to go from like $1 million, say, to 3 million, from 3 million to 10 million. So that's his focus. I help law firms with a single owner triple. That's his message. Very good message. Very soon, he went from making 70,000 to making 500,000 a year.
And amazing.
He only worked 30 hours a week, which was great for him. That's all he wanted to work. He didn't want to work 80 hours a week anymore. And all of this was because he took the time to get all this stuff sorted out. We had a CEO of a technology
Nicky,
firm.
I want to pause you here just for it. So it takes time. And, I assume for you as well, you evaluate all the time who is Nicky. Past of last year, I also reevaluating my own proposition and who I am and what I want to leave behind, what is going to be the Sabine legacy. And what you said, it's simple, but it's complicated because it's not done overnight. It will take months. It will take months. And I just wanted to highlight that because it's a very important part of the message you were actually highlighting.
Absolutely. Frankly, it can take years if you want to really be honest with yourself. Your initial iteration will take months, and then it'll take years to, if you look at Elon Musk, it's taking Elon Musk 25, 30 years to be who he is today, to really solidify his positioning in the world and who he is and why he does what he does. So anyways, that was this fellow. We had another client. She was the startup founder of a technology firm in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
And she was doing about 10 million a year. And she really wanted to go to 100 million. Fantastic, right? And she came and said, look, thought leadership, this is what I want to do. I found you. Can you help us? We agreed to spend some time with her. All we did was work with her on one workshop, and we set her up to do all this, and then she went off to do it on her own. And I'll tell you, and I told her this, I think she needed more, but that's the way she wanted to go, and it's her choice. But just out of that, I can tell you, I know she's tripled her business. Just
Incredible.
out of the work she did, she tripled her business. And to me, if as a CEO you take the time to invest in yourself, it's very important. The three critical success factors for all business people. First of all, you have to be decisive and committed. You cannot be, I'm going to try it. No, I'm in, I'm here to win. I'm willing to be bad at something before I'm average, before I'm good, before I'm great, and I'm here to win. Secondly, you need to understand the importance of investing in your most important asset, yourself. As a founder of a corporation, you are the most important asset in your business. If you're investing millions in your business and zero in yourself, you're crazy. You're crazy. You need to invest tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in yourself. And that's very important. You need to hire coaches. You need to be in masterminds. You need to attend conferences. You need to do courses, and you need to read books. All of this is going to cost money. Over the past 10 years, I've invested nearly $1 million in myself.
Yeah. And you have to, I mean, every year I probably spend, I don't know, 20, 25K, just basics on, I wouldn't say that doesn't even include the books. I wish I could show you behind me, Nicky, but I am a bookworm. I do have the Kindle, but touching a book, it's different. So I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. And that's very important. And then finally, you have to be resourceful. You have to find the time. For those CEOs that go, I don't have the time, I just laugh. I go, all that tells me is you're very immature in your understanding of how a business is supposed to run. Because a true CEO, a true founder, sets up his or her company so that it's running without them. Their job is to provide the vision and the direction and the big sales.
Yeah.
Your job is not to do every stupid little thing that has to get done in your business. That is nuts. That's why you hire good people that are better at it than you to do it. And you focus on vision, on growth, on scaling, and big deals, massive deals. And that should take you no more than 30 hours a week. So you should have plenty of time to invest in yourself to get better. Because when you get better, the whole enterprise grows.
And that is crucial, right? When you actually set yourself right, your enterprise grows, it succeeds, and it actually leaves a memorable story, right? A legacy. So you mentioned writing the book, hosting podcasts, speaking at events. You also highlighted your method. If we were going to balance personal branding with your corporation, and I want to see whether you can give us some advice also for the corporate executives I'm working with. Often it's difficult for a corporate executive to build a personal brand. And I know we talk about startup founders, but is there anything a corporate executive trying to build a personal brand could do to succeed within the frame of an enterprise? A big company, let's say like Tesla. I know, Tesla is owned by Elon Musk. You know about it. But think about the other executive within Tesla or the other executive into Apple, the other executive within Coca-Cola. Is there things we can learn from the startup CEO method you mentioned, which could be serving to the corporate environment?
Yeah, in fact, I think everything that the startup CEO can do, an executive can do. And if you're a smart executive, you should do it soon, early in your career, because it'll set you up for growth and for success at a way higher level than it could possibly happen if you didn't do this. Let's say you're a director at Tesla, okay? And let's say you're one of the AI group people. If I were you, I would start to go be a guest and talk about AI issues. I would go to my senior team and say, look, I'm going to be speaking about AI on podcasts. I'm going to be putting videos out for it because this is going to build my brand. And I commit that I'm not going to do anything that's going to be detrimental to Tesla. I'm not going to say things. I'm not going to give away the secrets that we have, but I want to be someone who is helpful and valuable. And this will be good for Tesla for me to do this because people will see Tesla as a corporation of thought leaders. That's very powerful if you think about it. And then I would do that. Eventually, I would build my own podcast too. I would write a book. I'd do all of that. And they might go, oh my God, I don't have time. And I'll say this to you again, even if you're an executive, 5 hours a week to do these things is an investment in
Into your
your
future.
future success.
Absolutely. So, Nikki, let's talk about your programming, right? You are doing mastermind. You said you wrote books, many books, and you have a number who are best-selling books as well. Can you tell us what you do every day and how you affect the life of the founders you work with?
Well, that's a great question. So, day in and day out, I read. I read a lot. Day in and day out, I'm on podcasts, my own. I interview guests, and also as a guest on other people's shows. And day in and day out, I do client work for people, and I have weekly group calls that I run on Tuesdays, and I also have some one-on-one work that I do with people. But a lot of my time is spent thinking, coming up with new ways to be successful for me and for my clients. And right now, I'm making a really big push to teach people about podcast guesting. So we have a program, a 2-day workshop called Get Booked and Get Paid. We run it a few times a year. There's
Get
one
booked and
coming up
get
at the,
paid. Love that.
yeah, it's good title, good title. It's happening at the end of April. It's a virtual one. So we've had a guy in it from Australia when we're in North America, which is kind of crazy. It was the middle of
That's
the night,
superb. I
but
was
he
going
did
to
it. Yeah,
ask you, do you
it was
have
the middle
clients
of the
all
night.
around the globe? But yes,
Yeah,
Australia.
yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, and we have a great client from Belgium as well, and the UK. The fee for the course right now, we've kept it the same. We didn't raise our fees for this course from last year because we want to make it possible for people. It's just only $2,000 US to come. And to tell you the truth, for this type of course, where the return on investment is in the hundreds of thousands, it is a very, very much of a bargain for people. And if people really want to learn how to be a great guest on a show and how to turn that into an opportunity to make money, to get paid, that's our entire focus for the 2 days. And it's a great time to network with some other like-minded people. So that's a big part of what we're doing. And we want to get the message and word out about that. We also are doing our thought leadership workshops, and we do customized for a founder. So if a founder goes, listen, I would like you to just work with me. I don't want to be in a workshop with everybody. So obviously there's different price points versus a public workshop if you just want it to be you and your team. But we do all that. That is kind of our focus. That's what we do.
That's superb. And so let's give some recommendations. So if you had really critical recommendation and takeaway for the founders who are listening to this podcast, and there's also investors listening to this podcast to help their own founders and actually to find great collaborators as well for their enterprises. And I do have corporate executives also listening to the podcast. Tell us, what would be your recommendation? What would be the takeaways you would want them to remember?
Number one is, if thought leadership is interesting to you and you want to learn more about it, I have a podcast called The Thought Leader Revolution. So it's free. You go and you look me up, or you look up the podcast. I've had over 550 episodes. So, I'd be hard pressed to say which one to start with, but beginning at the beginning is not a bad idea sometimes.
Yeah.
Or you can just go through the catalog and see if someone's name grabs you. We have founders on, we have thought leaders on, we have all kinds of interesting people on. So I recommend that as a start. But if you are in a space where you're like, hey, I am past trying to find out about this, I'm kind of interested in taking action about this, and you want to have a conversation, then come to my website. I have a link. It's eastcircleacademy.com/appointment. Let's jump on a call, a Zoom call, and tell me what's going on. Tell me what you want to do. Tell me how ready you are to kind of act on this. I'll suggest a couple of ways. If there is a meeting of the minds, then let's do business and get things going for you. Those are my two biggest recommendations. And my final recommendation is, if you enjoyed this episode and you like the work Sabine does, give her some good ratings on the platforms where her podcast is. Every time you give a podcast host a rating, you help this podcast host. You're going to help Sabine reach more people. You're going to help her fulfill her goals. And to me, that's very, very important. Don't just consume the content, right, for free, which she's giving you for free. Do something for her too. There should be an exchange in this, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. That's so kind, actually, Nikki, because I think a lot of people do not always know how to consume content, and that rating, download, and even, some of the comment do not always need to be positive, right? It's about adapting. I've had a couple, me being perfectionist, I had a couple of people who went and listened to my earlier podcast when I started 3 years ago, Nikki. And, I'm going to re-record some of the early podcasts simply because I didn't have the same technology and I was learning. And so when you look at how my podcast has evolved, I'm at 500,000 downloads now. So it's not too bad, top 50 in the UK. Not too bad either. Top 200 in the United States in entrepreneurship and business. Not too bad either. So, and that comes because of the rating on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. And I learn. I look at the rating. I look at what is a hot topic people listen to as well. And then I adjust. And I welcome amazing guests like you, right? To focus on what people are looking for. Like you said, get the email. A lot of people want to be on Scouting for Growth. So I will take a moment to say, I'm sorry, I cannot respond to the hundreds emails I'm receiving every day for people wanting to come into the podcast, but Easter is coming. So I will be spending some time responding to those. So Nikki, thank you so much for joining me on Scouting for Growth. Thank you so much for joining me on Scouting for Growth. And I cannot wait for my audience, my listeners, to spend some time connecting with you too.
Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Scouting for Growth. Please subscribe, share with friends, and leave a 5-star rating. Your rating is so valuable. I review all of them, and my team help me adapt content to meet your needs. Also, connect with me on my preferred channels. I am a B2B growth expert, so you will find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Threads, and X as well as Blue Sky. All information available below. Until next, keep scouting for growth.